Men is a new horror film from A24, written and directed by Alex Garland. Alex Garland's the man who brought us this sci-fi masterpiece, Ex Machina, and also made another really good sci-fi horror film in 2018, Annihilation. Now, this video is going to have heavy spoilers, obviously, so I'd recommend watching the movie first before you watch this. In order to explain the events of Men and what happens, I have to talk about it in chronological order. So throughout the film, we're shown flashbacks to this traumatic experience that our main character Harper, played by Jessie Buckley, experienced that led to her renting a home to get away in the springtime for a little mental vacation from what she experienced. Harper and her husband James were having a fight one day because Harper was requesting that they get a divorce, and James threatens her that if she wants to divorce him and goes ahead with getting a divorce, he will kill himself. This leads to a fight that breaks out into James punching Harper. He climbs up onto the floor above him. It's a bit of a mystery whether he was trying to climb from their balcony back into Harper's apartment because she kicked him out, or if he was trying to kill himself. But either way, we see him fall ultimately to his death, and we later see his body, and it is a very graphic scene where his forearm is split all the way down the middle, his leg is snapped in half, and his body is just a bloody mess. Before James killed himself, he said that if you divorce me, I will kill myself, and that will be on your conscience and on your hands, and it will haunt you for the rest of your life. James delivers on his promise because Harper moves to this new town and is subjected to a series of traumatic and terrifying events by all these different men that she meets that are all played by Rory Kinnear. And there's a few themes in the film of men, but I think the main theme, the most important one in a way, is the toxic masculinity trait. We're seeing a pattern of all these men that dismiss Harper's feelings and subject their own feelings onto her, blaming them for James's death. The vicar is so sexually drawn to Harper, and he justifies his own sexual assault of her by saying, "You look this way and you're doing this to me, and I can't help myself because of the way you're looking and the way you're dressing." We meet this teenage boy who asks Harper to play a game, and because she doesn't want to play a game, he calls her repeatedly a stupid bitch. And what I like about Harper in this movie is that she takes none of it. When the vicar is saying, "It's your fault that James died," she says, "Fuck off." She tells the teenage boy to fuck off. When James punches her in the face, instead of trying to take him back like some women might do, she says, "Get the fuck out of here, you're never gonna see me again," and she slams the door on him. The police officer who's like, "You're dumb for being scared. It's just a naked guy, he's not gonna do anything." She's like, "Fuck you, I'm out of here." I appreciated Harper for the way she handled all these toxic masculinity-driven men. Now, like I said in the beginning, James had cursed Harper and was essentially haunting her in his death through these men. And this becomes most obvious when the naked dude sticks his hand in through the door and Harper stabs him with a knife and cuts all the way through his hand. And then we see all the different men have this same wound where their arm is split down the middle. And if you remember back to the beginning of the film when we saw James's death when he jumped off the balcony, his arm was caught on a hook and it was split down the middle. His leg was also broken, and we see after Jeffrey crashes the car, his leg breaks when he's walking. That is almost where we learn that this is James haunting her from his death. So this film is essentially a supernatural film in a sense because James has placed a curse on Harper, and it's essentially about the toxic masculinity of men and shows the horrible traits that a lot of men, and I think even if we don't think we have it in us, a lot of men, and probably every man, has some sense of toxic masculinity in them. And maybe, hopefully, this film will make you think about that when you're walking out of the theater. Now I'm going to give my thoughts on the film. I think the message of this film is pretty powerful, and it would make men look inwards internally more if Alex Garland didn't alienate the audience and hide his messaging so much. This movie is very disturbing, it's very strange, it is pretty scary, and it is very, very thought-provoking. I have not stopped thinking about this movie since I saw it last night, and I would not shut up to my girlfriend about all the different things that happen in this movie, but I was like, I'm glad you didn't go see it with me because you definitely would have hated it. First of all, I think it's a very unpleasant movie to watch. It's pretty terrifying, which I like. Then it's no jump scares, it's actual horror. But the thing is, I think a film like this is almost important in many ways, to make men look internally at what is our toxic masculinity trait. It can make you think about the film, but when I was watching the film, I saw it in the theater by myself, and I could hear people talking about it, and I could tell this audience that saw it on the opening night of Friday night was not into it. And I heard one person say, it was a woman, she said, next time I'm picking the movie. I think almost Alex Garland is in a downwards trajectory, where I think Ex Machina was a phenomenal masterpiece. Annihilation was pretty good, but the characters were pretty weak. In this film, I think for the most part, we're watching Harper react to these gross, strange, violent men. But after a while, you're watching 2 hours of our lead character reacting to gross, violent, strange imagery, and it becomes a bit much to watch, and it becomes a bit exhausting to watch. And that final scene in the house, where we're in the house for like 40 minutes seeing insane, disturbing men giving birth to each other over and over and over again, different scenes of men trying to break into the rooms that Harper's in, and Harper just doing absolutely nothing but just standing there shaking with a knife, and then she runs to a different room and they break in that room, and she stands there and shakes with a knife, and then she runs in the street and essentially allows Jeffrey to steal her car and then chase her down with her car. Like, she makes a lot of dumb horror movie character decisions here, and it was quite frustrating to watch. I enjoyed Men, and I think the concept of Men is just absolutely genius, and that's the thing with Alex Garland, the same way I felt about Annihilation. The concept is genius, the filmmaking, the cinematography, so many things work here, but the characters become frustrating to watch after a point, and I think in Men he almost gets a little bit too weird for his own good. If he wants to strike a chord with audiences and make men look inwards at their own toxic traits and make you think and talk about this film afterwards, you can't alienate them as much with the weird fucking imagery that you're gonna do over and over, and just get weirder and weirder to the point that you're gonna turn off a lot of people. And I can imagine a lot of people walking out of this movie. So I think it was a genius concept. I really appreciate this movie, and it's a very thought-provoking movie, especially after some of the static noise movies we've been seeing, like Doctor Strange and shit, that you watch it and you're just like completely turn your brain off and don't think. I love films like this, but don't alienate your audiences too much, because this is an important film, I think. What did you think about Men? What do you think about the green man and the naked dude? What was the most disturbing scene for you? Did you like this movie? I like this movie, but at the end of the day, it's not anything I'm going to see twice, and I can't recommend people go watch it because I know none of my friends or my girlfriend are going to like this. I will probably like it more than any of them because I like weird A24 horror films. The message of the film was very important, but watching our main character making dumb horror movie decisions and reacting to gross men over and over became a bit exhausting. Thanks for watching. Check out my Etsy. I make hand-painted horror hats. Etsy.com/shop/evilbroomstick. Check out this dude. I'm gonna get out of here. Peace.